All right, good evening, folks. How's it going out there? Welcome back here to a Wednesday night. July 2nd, 2025 is the date here. Wednesday, 10:29 p.m. That's California time. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows looks like a three-pointer out there across the Mediterranean. Pretty good clustering going on out there today. Still got my eyes here, and I think quite a few folks do here around the Japan area. This is still quite active here. Now, these guys only showing 12 earthquakes on the map, with a bunch of fives still in there in the last 24 hours. The most recent one, a 4.7. I went ahead and pulled up the Japan earthquake site here and did the counting. Went all the way down through today's events back to the first of, from to yesterday. So we got 75 events there just after midnight. So technically, on the second here, a bunch of threes. There's all the fours, multiple fives in there, quite a few threes and twos, and it's just a cluster still going on there across that area of Japan. Right now, seismograph stations that I'm watching show a couple more earthquakes here on the map. This is not has not gone away. Still continuing there towards the southern end of the Nankai Trough. Getting a little bit of adjustment here north along the northern edge here of the Pacific Plate. That potentially, with movement north and all this movement happening down south here, that should further push the Pacific Plate in this general fashion here to the west up against the Filipino Plate. That's just the way the plate dynamics work out here. If you look at the movement here, a lot of times when earthquake activity happens down here across the Tonga Trench or Vanuatu and up here across the north, all those arrows moving this plate further into the area of the Filipino Plate, which of course puts all that strain there against the Eurasia Plate and the Nankai Trough right there where we're watching that earthquake activity stir up. So it'd be interesting to see how this area responds to the newer quake activity here on the map. These are literally earthquakes here within the last hour or two across the Aleutian Trench. You can see these here, 4.3, the latest in the last hour, 39 miles deep. And the movement down south here, fairly recent as well, with a couple, at least one 5.3 down here. Looks like there was a couple more earthquakes, though. Into the New Zealand area, 3.7 there, South Island, couple earthquakes there along the Kermadec Trench. So watch, keep an eye on that area. That should show some uptick here overnight. I mean, we're already seeing a lot of uptick, but more uptick in the potential for some larger earthquake activity there. Pretty good cluster going on right now across the Indonesia area. A little bit more active than normal. I know I call it the crunch zone because that's where the plates tend to all point to. If you look at the general plate movement out here, this area around the Philippines southward, Indonesia area, look at all those arrows kind of pointing in the same general direction there. Is normally active on any given day, but this is a little bit more than normal out here. So pretty good clustering going on across this area. Philippines area, it looks like as well. A little bit of migrational movement up around the Sumatra area just off the coast there and into the Myanmar region. So overall, definitely quite a bit of stress out here. For the west coast, California, let's see what's going on out here across California. Well, actually, we're going to start in the Pacific Northwest here. Got a little swarming up there around Mount Rainier. Some very small earthquakes there. Looks like 8 in the last 24 hours. I do want to double check that seismograph station there, because if there's 8, normally there's going to be more than that listed, at least on the recorded view. By the way, no tremor along the Cascadia. It's been that way for a couple days now. Things have come to a halt. Let's go over here to the Mount Rainier map, and there's those earthquakes here in the last 24 hours in the red. Or last 2 hours it shows here, but I think they're a little bit older than that. Either way, I want to check out the seismograph station. I don't know why there's not more up here. There's a couple distant seismograph stations here, but it's an active volcano there. It's got potential for future eruptions as well. Earthquake activity here. When was the last one that they're showing? 15, so about 3 o'clock or so my time. That would, we'd have to go back here the previous day. There's a couple right there. 1500. Yeah, maybe one of these as well. But I don't see any type of big swarming going on. These are probably the two of the larger events, and they're not that big. Looks like one was a 1.4 and a 1.3 here, literally within seconds of each other here. Very shallow earthquake activity, though. It's rather interesting there. And again, that shows up quite nicely there within seconds of each other. But we'll continue to watch that. Definitely getting some interesting earthquake activity there. Nothing that we haven't seen in the past. You know, occasionally we get some swarms up there around Mount Hood as well, you know, which is down south, and also the Mount St. Helens area. But Mount St. Helens right now looks pretty quiet. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity around there. The rest, oh, look at this earthquake along the Oregon coast. 1.9, that earthquake fairly recent. 9 miles underneath this area, associated with the Cascadia subduction zone. It's really not associated with the fracture areas, but then again, it's not even all that deep. 9 miles is really not that deep for this area. So watch that. Again, no tremor activity recorded there. A couple earthquakes there in Northern California in the 2 range, along the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. There's your typical Clear Lake volcanic field. Hydrothermal plants in full swing there. Let's see what else we got. Bay Area is awfully quiet once again. Only 1.2 from earlier this afternoon. A couple more earthquakes up around the Tom's Place, up in the southern end of the Sierra Nevada mountains. Not quite into the Long Valley supervolcano there, but yes, California does have a supervolcano. Yeah, some smaller earthquake activity south. Nothing big happening there for now. Same with Southern California here. It looks awfully quiet across the southern portion here of the state. Just typical microquake activity out there. Really nothing of any abnormal movement that I see there on the map for now. Up in the Idaho area, getting some more earthquakes there. Off of the Sawtooth Fault System and to the west here, I still think we got potential for some larger earthquake activity on that thing. It's been swarming up here in the last couple months with some decent activity over here as well. Just a very good leading indicator that there's quite a bit of strain built up here, and it could be putting this Sawtooth Fault System here under quite a bit of stress there. It is capable of producing a bigger earthquake up in the 7 range. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up there, but let's go double check that and see what's going on here. Looks like they still haven't fixed this one. That is, I had this up on my screen earlier, and Missy Mimi's comes in here to the earthquake office, and it's like, what is that? Well, she knows seismograph stations here, but it almost looks like, I don't know what it looks like. It just looks like a bunch of scribbles there, but that one obviously malfunctioning. If that was really happening, we'd be talking about some crazy ground movement. And I'm not for sure what this reading is over here as well. It looks to be on cue every, I don't know how many minutes, but it's some type of pattern. Maybe it's a code out here. Who knows? I'm really not good at trying to figure that stuff out. But as far as earthquake activity goes, there's, well, let's see here. This looks like earthquake activity here. Yeah, it did show up here on Grant Village as well. Nothing big, but that is towards the center portion of the Yellowstone caldera. I'm not for sure what's going on over here across the eastern area. I don't know if those may be thunderstorms there across that area. But these distinct marks, they look like earthquakes here. So we'll see if the USGS gets to them in the morning time. Nothing big, probably 1.5 or below that level. Nothing showing up on the map there, by the way. Across Texas, some oil field activity. Nothing big happening. Just some 2s, an occasional 3. New Madrid seismic zone quiet. This is one area that's been unusually quiet over the past week. Just some activity. 2 earthquakes recorded outside of the zone. In the last 30 days, looks like a little clustering going on up here, but for the last 30 days, only seen 5 earthquakes around the New Madrid seismic zone. It's a little quiet. eastern portion of the country quite as well. Let's take a look here, see what else we got on the map or on the globe here. 3.8 Puerto Rico. Nothing major going on across the Middle American Trench or the Peru-Chile Trench. Older activity there from this morning down across the South Sandwich Trench there. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. And as far as anything major going on across the Mediterranean or the Middle East, it's just some movement around Turkey, 2s and 3s. Looks like maybe a 4-pointer out there. But nothing big going on there for now. Just kind of keep an eye there on the Japan area, which we got another earthquake showing up there. Just started getting a cough all of a sudden here. That is very close. This seismograph station here is very close to the area where the earthquake swarming's taking place there, southern end, towards the southern end of the Nankai Trough. So that showed up quite nicely here in the last couple minutes. Barely showing up on the Tokyo station here, but let's see how big that was. Gotta refresh this. Wow, so 2231. That was just in the last 10 minutes. Looks like it was a 4.5. So that makes it, let's see here. Well, there was a 4.6 earlier, a couple 5s in there as well, but within the last couple hours, that makes it the largest earthquake out here. The last 4-pointer was 4 hours or so ago. So things are, kicking up here. And as I stated, it's a good possibility we'll see further increasing strain with the adjustment up north and all this activity occurring across this area of the Pacific Plate. This, going to put the ramping up of earthquake potential out here when that plate moves. And the Pacific Plate is a big one. So latest earthquake there, 4.5. I don't know if it's showing up yet here. But definitely picked up here on the Japan station, right in that zone there where we're seeing the ongoing earthquake swarm just off the Nankai Trough. There's the sleeping giant. Could kick up. Gotta watch that. All right, let's check out space weather activity real quick. Got some beautiful prominence features out there. Some maybe erupting plasma. Sometimes they blast off and send off a decent amount of material there from the sun, but it's all pretty much directed away from Earth. As far as flaring activity goes, well, only a C1.1 flare, and I think that's still coming off of this western area here where that prominence is lingering. But once this is out of sight here, we should drop back down into the B flare category, and there's really not a whole lot of any sunspots out here that are worth mentioning. There's numerous sunspots, but let's see, what's this one here, 4127. Yeah, that's holding steady. I don't really see anything complex with that. So yeah, flare threat's going to continue to drop here, folks. Less than a 1% chance for X flare, M flare 15% chance. I know I need to change on my the live stream there. My percentages, it's just been so non-active here across the sun as far as flaring activity goes. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, the aurora, what aurora, right? It looks like that had missed us, as I had mentioned it probably would. There was supposed to be some type of low-grade CME activity that was shot off there from the sun a couple days ago. Somewhat Earth-directed, but it looks like it completely missed the planet. I don't see any effects in the aurora department for now. So we'll continue to enter some quiet periods there on the sun for the solar activity. Let's see, a little bit of storminess there for tomorrow. Let's see what we got. Is this for Thursday? Slight risk up into North Dakota. A little bit over here across the New York area as well. Little 2% chance here for some tornado activity up in the Dakota area. Some wind and a little bit of hail threats up there. Nothing big. Taking a look here at the total accumulated precipitation runs here over the next bunch of models. This goes all the way to the 19th. Pretty much everywhere except for me out here in California getting some type of precipitation. I don't see any major soakers. I know Florida is dealing with some moisture there, and looks like areas up across the eastern portion of the country are set for some decent precipitation accumulation amounts there. Far as the fire activity goes, I'm sure you guys heard about that firework warehouse. That's just to the south of me here in Yolo County, near Esparto. That crazy. In fact, the Butte County, the Silver Dollar Fairgrounds here, where we normally have the firework display, the fireworks they were going to use was involved in that big fire. So that it got canceled. No fireworks show there for the Butte County area. I think Colusa as well, Colusa County. I don't know about Glenn County though, but yeah, that was a huge explosion that struck out there. Did spark off some fires around the area. Still, actually, surprisingly, some mandatory evacuations out there. That is absolutely crazy. But it's been hot out here, very hot. I don't know, what the process was down there as far as preventing something from happening if it does happen to start up. But that, I'm sure you guys seen about it. Made national news. That's where that struck. I'm up here in outside the Chico area. I just sat down right down there. That's crazy. But as far as lightning caused fires, there's quite a bit of them up here across Northern California. This one looks to be a bigger one here, 200 acres. There is some hot spots showing up here on the satellite imagery. That looks like they're going to continue to build a line throughout the night into some heavily, forested areas, but looks like that's starting to burn pretty hot there with that satellite imagery. No containment there. A couple other fires outside of north of Redding here, but there's a summit fire. That's 20 acres up there, probably a little bit more than that though. That's just what they're showing. So yeah, thunderstorms, there's beneficial rain to the thunderstorms, but also at the same time you got those lightning strikes, and they strike, some dry vegetation, and that's all it takes. You get those gusty, erratic winds with the storms, and it's a not a good combination. Southern California, what do we got down here? Madre Fire, 9,800 acres. That thing took off like crazy. That no containment here. A lot of mandatory evacuation. This one is the bigger one down here with a lot of hot spots being picked up there on the satellite imagery. I don't think we got any major winds out there. Oh, that's not good. Look at this camera view. Let's see here. Yeah, it's still going. Look at that. That's a crazy image. Last 15 minutes or so. It's burning pretty hot. It does look like there's some upper level winds there. Not good. It is, like I say, it's up in the mountains there along the... that looks like it's right along the San Andreas Fault, the southern segment there. Yeah, because it runs down through here. There's the Garlock Fault shear zone. But the southern branch of San Andreas Fault runs up here. That's crazy. Anyway, hopefully they get these under control. I mean, look at that. That's a lot of fires out there all across the west. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Have yourself a wonderful evening. Again, keep an eye there on is that a new one? Or is that same one? I believe that's that same one. Let me double check that here. Where'd my yeah, so there's a 4.5, the bigger one, and since then 2 more earthquakes here since we last checked it, 2.8 and a 2.3. So this is still rocking and rolling out there, folks, with that earthquake activity there off the Nankai Trough. Got to watch that closely, folks. Hopefully, Japan, they can hold up to some, pretty powerful earthquakes. They're used to them, I think. They build them into their infrastructure, and all their buildings are made to withstand, a big earthquake. But it's you got to worry about the tsunami potential out there as well. So hope for the best. Got to prepare for the worst though, because that could be coming up here soon. We'll talk at you guys in the morning sometime for the Thursday morning update. Have a wonderful evening, folks. Stay safe out there.